A recent road trip to California was intended to be a memorable adventure for the narrator and their girlfriend. The journey to their destination had proceeded without incident, but the return trip would soon spiral into a harrowing ordeal that defied explanation. With the homeward journey commencing in the afternoon, the majority of their drive unfolded in the shroud of night. The long, grueling trek, spanning approximately 10 hours without factoring in stops for sustenance, had taken a toll on both travelers. The first food stop, a brief respite after 3 hours on the road, was followed by a subsequent one much later into the night. The clock had just struck 12:30 a.m. when they exited the freeway, seeking the comforting embrace of a Wendy's for nourishment. The narrator's insistence on multitasking, eating while driving, earned disapproval from their girlfriend, who was growing increasingly concerned for their safety. Nonetheless, a sense of urgency compelled the driver to hasten the journey homeward. Amid the persistent rain that began to envelop the highway, their girlfriend, deeply unsettled, insisted on pulling over. Concerned for their well-being, she vehemently opposed eating while driving under deteriorating conditions. As the narrator completed their meal and the downpour intensified, a sudden jarring sound at the window shattered the peace. Initially attributing the noise to the storm, the pair's sense of security was upended when they turned to their left and encountered a figure blocking the car window. The stricken look on their girlfriend's face mirrored the narrator's initial shock. Despite the relentless deluge, they cracked the car door open to inquire if the drenched, disheveled woman required assistance. Her demand for a ride was met with the inevitable realization that in such adverse conditions, it was impossible to refuse her plea for help. The narrator communicated their intention to drop the woman off at the next town, despite the ominous air surrounding her. The eerie nature of her blank, unfriendly gaze raised unsettling questions. As the car resumed its journey along the desolate highway, an incident that would haunt their memories unfolded with terrifying swiftness. A piercing scream erupted from behind, and the woman seated in the back seat ensnared the narrator's throat with a deadly grip. Panic seized the driver, who struggled to maintain control. The scene unfurled in chaotic, disorienting fashion, culminating in their car veering perilously close to the divider. In a desperate bid for survival, the narrator's girlfriend unleashed a furious assault, raking her nails across the assailant's face. The woman's shrieks, initially of anger, transformed into agonizing cries of pain. Terrified, the driver reacted with frantic determination, halting the car and forcibly ejecting the assailant into the relentless rain. The back door swung open, and the woman pleaded for mercy, her anguished cries of "please, please" echoing through the night. Shaken and fearful, the pair ignored her entreaties, retreating to the safety of their car as they locked the doors. In a matter of moments, the car was in drive, and they sped away, leaving the woman behind on the rain-soaked highway. The woman's desperate screams and pounding on the car windows were haunting as the travelers drove on, fervently hoping that they had escaped the nightmarish threat. Meanwhile, the girlfriend contacted the police, reporting the suspicious and unstable woman they had encountered. Without further stops, they proceeded homeward, determined to put the unsettling incident behind them. Their nerves were frayed, but the desire to distance themselves from the terrifying encounter superseded all other concerns. The memory of the eerie and potentially life-threatening incident would linger as an unsettling chapter in their road trip. In 2010, a long and arduous drive from Pennsylvania to rural Georgia became an unforgettable journey filled with chilling moments. The road trip was meant to reunite the narrator with family, but the events that unfolded on the desolate backroads of Georgia would leave an indelible mark on their memory. The day began at 10:01 a.m. with the intention of completing the 14-hour journey in a single stretch, with a quick lunch stop at a local deli and another stop at a rest area to enjoy homemade turkey sandwiches. The narrator aimed to make no further halts, aside from one more gas station visit. As evening descended and fatigue set in, they had just filled up the tank with a final ETA of 12:30 a.m. Now the GPS was guiding them through unfamiliar rural roads, steering them off the main highways. The road meandered through the quiet Georgia countryside. Their Ford F-150, equipped with a powerful light bar, helped illuminate the path ahead as the journey extended late into the night. Tired and keen to reach their cousin's house, the narrator persisted despite the growing fatigue. Soon they encountered a sign and made a left turn onto an even quieter road, surrounded by dense woods on either side. The GPS directed them along this less traveled route, with a speed limit of 45 mph. In their exhaustion, they let their speed climb to 55-60 mph, assuming that no other cars would be sharing this desolate road at that hour. But suddenly, the journey took a harrowing twist. 4 shiny objects loomed in the darkness ahead. The narrator's reflexes kicked in, and they hit the brakes just in time to avoid colliding with the objects, which turned out to be large traffic drums, cylindrical cones typically used on construction sites. Alarmed and perplexed, the narrator ventured out of their truck with a baseball bat in hand. As they approached the traffic drums, they discovered something even more sinister: a spike trap akin to those employed by law enforcement. Panic set in, and the narrator scanned the area, searching for answers. Was this some sort of police operation, or had they stumbled upon a trap set by unknown assailants? Their confusion was disrupted by a piercing cry for help, emanating from the adjacent woods. The voice was desperate and pleading. The narrator remained by their vehicle, reluctant to enter the ominous forest. Instead, they cautiously called out, inquiring about the nature of the distress. Unbelievably, silence was the only response received. A chill crept down their spine as they gazed into the wooded abyss. Despite their reluctance, a movement caught their eye: an individual crouched behind bushes. The figure remained within their peripheral vision, sending a shiver down the narrator's spine. Without direct eye contact, they observed the person but didn't approach further. Panic and fear took hold as the situation grew increasingly bizarre. The silence from the woods left the narrator in suspense, but in a moment of clarity, they decided to retreat to the safety of their vehicle. However, fate was not finished testing them. It was then that they noticed 2 silhouettes emerging from the woods, approaching their truck. A combination of instinct and fear led the narrator to drive off the road, avoiding the spike trap. Unperturbed by the obstruction, they circumvented the trap and continued on their journey. In the rear-view mirror, they caught sight of at least 3 shadowy figures standing near the traffic drums, briefly illuminated by the taillights of their truck. In a matter of seconds, these ominous figures faded into the darkness, their intentions and identities forever shrouded in mystery. This nightmarish encounter, though unexpected and terrifying, ultimately left the narrator grateful to have escaped with their life. The events of that night on the desolate Georgia backroads would remain etched in their memory as a chilling reminder of the unforeseen perils that can unfold on the open road.